Watcha, we have this beautiful partial solar eclipse coming up at the end of March. And I really can see that there is this psycho-spiritual shift in what's possible, in what we truly believe and know now is absolutely possible for ourselves individually and also collectively, looking at the world and looking at how we are shaping and changing communities around us, and realizing that we have the power of choice and selection. We are still moving through this eclipse equinox corridor. As I always say, these cosmic events are not a 24-hour affair. They have an impact on us before and after. There's an afterglow, and certainly with eclipse season, you can expect at least the next 6 months to be impacted and to be influenced to some degree in the choices you've made and you're making and the life course that you are taking. So, the usual with eclipse season, this solar eclipse, this partial solar eclipse is wrapping up and ending. It's a completion. It's definitely a completion. You will find that the physical, there's chunks of your physical life that you will not be returning to. You will not be going back to. There is physical experiences and even physical souls, people, and physical situations that are complete now and that you will not be returning to. So some of this will be a very clear, obvious, conscious choice that this type of cosmic event helps you to reach that point of activation. And then for others of you, this will feel like destiny steps in. It will feel like something has stepped in and is making this change happen. So completion and major change. This end of March solar eclipse will activate major change, and also not returning to past people, events, situations, physical experiences. Okay? So there's a no going back energy to this eclipse. I have a paradoxical understanding of life. I always have, and I've always felt, and I've always been told by my guides, the angels, that the truth of life and of consciousness is a paradox. So even though I honor and I flow with the cosmic or energetic shifts and changes, I also believe and truly know to be the power of selection. And I've done so many videos on the law of attraction. I used to do a lot more in the past. I felt that all of a sudden then the internet, especially YouTube, was just saturated with law of attraction. I was going to say attraction. Some of it is trash because I think it plays to people's fears and people's fantasies. And then there's lots of amazing, really, really solid gold content out there as well. But last summer I started to revisit this and and also in my own personal everyday choices, coming back to my original understanding when I was much younger. I always lived by the principle of selection, of choice. So selection, I think this is a big focus for me personally in my life. Coming back again, I really played out selection in my teens, and even as in my childhood. I remember meditating, like sitting in stillness in my room and manifesting things. Very simple things, like I wanted skates, I wanted skates because all the other kids had skates. I wanted a bike one time, so I manifested a bike. It was this pure, very, very pure belief and knowing that if I asked the divine for something, no matter what the circumstances around it, the divine would be powerful enough to, like the river flowing around the rocks, the river doesn't meet the big obstacle of a rock and say, oh, we have to stop the river here. Like, this river is a powerful force. It's going to find a way over the rock, under the rock, around the rock. It will bend and swerve and flow and pour and push. And to me, the river is a symbol of that divine God force energy. I think then life happened like it does to all of us, and we can start to feel silenced. We can start to feel a bit battered and bruised from these happenings in our lives, which really are there for us to flow around like the river around the rock, right? But sometimes we forget that. We were given this program, this artificial manipulated program of amnesia. It happened upon our birth coming in, and unfortunately it often plays out in that we have to continuously remind ourselves, and I suppose that's what my videos are about. It's a reminder, it's a compassionate reminder that you are the selector. You are the selector, or you could say co-creator of your earthly experience. Now, the key here is when you bring doubts and when you bring fears into this, and it's the same with the solar eclipse, it's the same with any energetic event. You could, like, the seasons are energetic events, If we were to panic because the season is changing, and okay, so we'll take winter, a lot of us are not major fans of winter, although there is aspects I do enjoy. But those of you who watch and follow my channel know I just love the sun. I love the sunshine. I love the heat. It's just easier on my body. It's easier on my mind. I think life is lighter. You pull on a dress or a t-shirt and off you go. There's a child-free freedom with it, from my perspective. And I'm sure people who love winter have their own reasons for that too. But if we were to bring fear and doubt and go, oh my God, how am I ever going to survive the winter? And I refuse to work with this energy. I'm going to still stay in shorts and a t-shirt, and I'm going to go out there on a cold December day or January day, and I'm not going to work with this energetic change around me. That would just be foolish, right? That would just be ignorance. And that's all that this is requiring, that we're not ignorant to these changes, that we're not ignorant to what's actually happening inside ourselves and around ourselves. Because the truth is, without the inside focus, without the inside existing in consciousness, there would be no outside. The outside truly is a hologram. It's what some call a simulation. I mean, there's different names for it. The Matrix. It doesn't matter, you can call it whatever you want, but the point is truly as within, so without, as above, so below. And as above, heaven, the divine spirit, that's what we say, it's above, even though we're in it. It's not outside of us, but we often point up to heaven or cloud 9, as though it's a physical place. But those ancient sayings are very true, because I've always believed we are here to create our own version of above, so below, heaven on earth. And I think where we get lost in the sauce there is that everybody has such an individual idea about what is heaven and what that constitutes. So your idea of heaven is going to be really, really different to mine. Back to the seasons. Some people's idea of heaven is being curled up in a warm blanket with a hot chocolate in the winter by the fire. Other people's idea of heaven is walking in a bikini along a beach. So the point is, everybody is existing within their own universe, within their own version, their own projection of this hologram. And when you know that their selecting and their experience is based on their comfort, their belief, their knowingness in who they are, we're going into self-concept here, and they are literally mirroring that out and the world is reflecting it back, then you get back to brass tacks of how creation works. Now, do I believe that we create everything consciously? No, of course not. Our unconscious is having such a massive, powerful, profound impact on our experiences, on our health, on our finances, on everything. And this is where we really get confused, because even though we are selecting all the time, a lot of us are selecting from a default place. So we're not selecting consciously. But the great thing about this solar eclipse at the end of March 25 is we are entering a whole new timeline. And that amnesia, that unconsciousness is starting to dissolve. We've been going through a period of dissolution. And that's why some of you may have found your memory, your physical mind has been a bit foggy or jumbled or just forgetful, and I did a whole video on this last summer, so you can scroll back a bunch of videos, and I talked about memory loss and how, I'm not talking about dementia or people who have a physical reason, but for those of you who just suddenly feel your memory has become a blur, you don't remember names and places and past memories, like you used to have sharp, clear, vivid images of that, and that has changed recently. That could be because, and I know for me this is an ascension symptom, so it could be for you too. It's that we've loosened our attachment to that old 3D world, so we don't need to remember those things, especially when you've done the shadow work, when you've done deep internal shifting of the wounds, of the pains, of the changes, and you've honored that. There's no need to keep the vivid memory, or there's no need to keep a reliving of that experience, because you're selecting something new. You're selecting something that is a whole new frequency, so it doesn't even match the old memory. So why would you carry that with you? It's just like baggage on your back. With this solar eclipse, you'll find that as we move into April, around the second, third week of April, there will be an energetic movement, a dynamism that you haven't felt for probably a couple of months. March, if you look at the list of things that's going on in March, energetically, spiritually, astrologically, we've had layers upon interconnected, complicated layers of stuff. There's been huge delays with all these retrogrades, blah, blah, blah. I've talked about it at length. I talked about it in my videos. I'm not going to repeat myself. But basically the past is completing, things are ending, and this is so that there is space. So you may have felt around the equinox and the days after, there was a magic, there was a calmness, there was a nostalgia even, because we are doing our internal spring cleaning. We're doing our soul spring cleaning as we go through this eclipse portal. April will be when those delays come to an end and you're going to start to see momentum pick up. So the seeds you've sown, the work you've done, the changes that maybe you have not been able to fully activate in a physical form yet, but you know about them in your mind. You have these ideas of what's necessary in order to move forward now. You'll find that come April, you'll have tremendous opportunity and support to implement those changes. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm trying not to make the video so long. I know your time is precious. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. The light in me recognizes the light in you.